Elon Musk invited newscaster Jesse Waters to the weekly 10 p.m. Department of Government Efficiency, or Doge, meeting, which was attended by about 20 Doge investigators. Doge is not a traditional government agency, but an advisory body created by executive order, operating under the renamed U.S. Doge Service, which was formerly known as the U.S. Digital Service, and is set to expire by July 4, 2026. Strange date, isn't it? The New York Times identified at least 60 people within Doge, which is a pretty small office considering that in 2023, the U.S. government employed approximately 22.4 million people. Musk is known for his demanding work ethic, often working 80 to 120 hours per week across his companies, such as Tesla, SpaceX, X, Neuralink, and so on. A Business Insider article notes that Musk instilled a Silicon Valley grind culture at Doge, with the team reportedly working 120 hours a week until 2 a.m. to meet their government cost-cutting goals, and these patriots are happy to do it. One of the team said he dropped out of Harvard to work for Doge. All of the men on this team, both young and old, acted very professional, highly motivated, and very smart. That's why some of these kids today with their facial tattoos and piercing can't get a job. There are still many talented young people out there, and drama and exhibitionism is no longer going to get positive attention. As Trump said, advancement will now rely on merit. Excellence is not about causing problems, but fixing them. Before we get into it, let me remind you to give the video a thumbs up and share it with your family and friends so we can make the world great again. I think I'm going to shut down my storefront because it's cost me thousands more than it's made me, and I just can't dedicate time to it. So I'll still have the shop button, but it will be things from other stores that I use or recommend, so it still helps if you use the shop button. And as always, I'm always so grateful for tips under the super thanks button below the video in the 3 dots. Doge, created by executive order to cut federal spending and streamline government, operated at a breakneck speed under Musk's leadership, with actions like freezing 470,000 government credit cards and dismantling agencies like USAID. The Task Force on the Declassification of Federal Secrets, which overlaps with Doge's transparency goals, also pursued aggressive timelines like declassifying 80,000 JFK documents. So there appears to be multiple agencies working in unison. Musk has a history of holding weekly meetings to monitor ongoing projects where members review their weekly contributions, indicating that these meetings are structured for accountability and updates. The meeting started by going around the table with each team member explaining what they accomplished this week, but they stuck to more of a question and answer format. First, I want to say that the media and the left made such a big deal out of an email asking for 3 things that government employees did that week. While opponents turned this request into a huge assault on federal employees, Musk wasn't asking anything more than he asks of the people that work for him across his many successful companies. Some genius in the agency that I worked for decided that we should be logging into our wireless laptops every 15 minutes with our whereabouts. This was after government computers, but before GPS. Some pencil pusher had no idea what our job was and tried to justify their existence. Not only was this time-consuming, detracting from actual work, it put the agents at risk because we all knew that computers could be hacked, and even back then, the bad guys could track our location. I'd venture to say that Doge is finding lots of shiny toys and environments being paid for, but none of them are making things better or solving a problem. That's how government has always worked. It was well known back then, and probably still is, that to get fired from a government job, you pretty much had to unalive someone. You could take 3-hour lunches, divert funds, and do nothing, and you wouldn't get fired. I never saw anybody in my department get fired in 13 years until we exposed the corruption at the top. It took years, I've talked about that before. There's a book named Dangerous Doses by Catherine Eben that describes what was going on in my agency and how some amazing agents outsmarted the agency heads and shut the department down. I'll link it in the description or under the shop button. There's definitely a new sheriff in town, and I, for one, welcome this cleanup followed by policies and technology to prevent this from happening again. At least until the people forget and allow it to happen again. The slogan, "We must never forget," is associated with the destruction of the Twin Towers. But what people may not realize is that the towers and those victims were only one event. What we must never forget is the truth behind the Twin Towers and how evil people can become in the pursuit of power, Never forget what we are learning about our government and its leaders. Tell your children how we almost lost our freedom and how we must never let that happen. The struggle for freedom is constant, guys. So let's sit here and be flies on the wall of the May 1st meeting of Doge. The first report was on the Treasury Department, which pays out about $5 trillion a year. Formerly, there was no budget codes on payments, so that when a payment was made, we didn't know what it was for. Also, there was no receipt required by the employee. There was a $4 billion COVID fund in the Department of Education. No receipts were required, and it was found that money was being paid to rent out Caesar's Palace and stadiums for parties, and they weren't birthday parties for the kids in the schools. Imagine the Department of Education renting out stadiums for a party. Apparently, this is all done electronically. The money recipient doesn't even need to ask anybody for the money. So Doge made a change requiring a receipt to be uploaded before money can be withdrawn. After they required a receipt, no further withdrawals were made on this system. Musk, with his dry humor, poking fun at the ludicrousness of the way our government was leaking money, saying that Doge wasn't even verifying the receipts. He said that the system would allow them to upload a photo of their dog, and they'd still be able to withdraw the money. It was a document in Money Out change from the government's previous Money Out system. As soon as Doge asked for anything, the request stopped, and the people didn't need the money anymore. When reiterating the leasing of Caesar's Palace and stadiums for parties, Musk explained that the fraud starts out small and they try to hide it, but year after year when no one catches it, they get more and more brazen until they get to the point of renting stadiums and Caesar's Palace to party on the taxpayers' money. When asked how it feels to find such a big fraud, one of the team members said that at first it felt exhilarating, but now it's become so common. Musk said that after finding a couple hundred of them, it's just another day at the office. Can you imagine that? I had a government credit card and I didn't need written authorization either, but I would never have thought of abusing it. I can, however, see how the lack of oversight encourages abuse. They also found that the Small Business Association, or SBA, gave about $330 million to people that were under 11 years old or over 115 years old at the time they took out the loan. So basically, babies and dead people were getting business loans. There were also recipients with birth dates in the future. Musk recalled one having a birth date in 2165, and the systems weren't catching this. In a day when computers are being used to guide surgery, it's concerning that our government IT people were so inept. As Musk said, it's either an input error or fraud. What do you think? Another team member mentioned one of the extreme cases of non-accountability, which they are seeing in smaller agencies like the Inter-American Foundation. He said that we give them a $50 million a year grant for alpaca farming in Peru and improving the marketability of peas in Guatemala. In the case of IAF, only 58% of the money actually went to grantees, and the rest went to administrative costs such as management and travel. Musk's point is that even if you agree with supporting alpaca farming in Peru, most of the money never made it out of DC. The Government Accountability Office, or GAO, estimates that only 10 to 15% of money ever gets to the end recipient. Musk further explained that there are multiple layers of stealing by contractors and subcontractors, and sometimes you keep peeling away the onion and there's no money left after everybody takes their cut. Another team member explains how he overheard a contractor tell a colleague to falsify billable hours, and that incident is also under investigation right now. Musk said he likes asking for photographs because if they can't produce photographs, it didn't happen. He said one program was around $1 billion to save baby pandas, which is a heart-touching cause, but they couldn't even send a picture of one panda. When you hear Musk saying they couldn't produce a panda, this fraud is what he's referring to. In another case, they traced money for Ebola going to an accounting firm named Deloitte in DC. Actually, it's one of the largest professional services networks in the world. When asked about resistance to their doing their job, another small agency named the United States Institute of Peace was mentioned as the least peaceful agency that they have come across. There were loaded guns at the agency's headquarters, and they were spending money on private jets and had a $130,000 contract to a former member of the Taliban. With our money. When the country was founded, there were only 4 agencies. Today, there are over 400. President Trump has written 2 executive orders to reduce the number of agencies in the government, and the Institute of Peace was one of them. That's when they found the weapons and armory and payments to the Taliban. The Institute tried to hide evidence by deleting over 1 terabyte of accounting records before they got there. That's why Doge went in to inspect it. These are not haphazard sweeps, guys. These are strategically targeted missions. My guess is that the team already knew a lot before they got to each of these various agencies. Maybe they didn't have numbers and specifics, but they had a tip or identified some anomaly that was cause for further inspection. It has to work that way because of how many locations that evidence can exist. As with Hillary Clinton, the evidence was on a private server. So while algorithms can pick up potential targets, they can't just find all of the waste or even theft because it's not on the known system. I would also go so far as to say that I wouldn't be surprised if Doge already had remote access, and all of these tantrums and drama fests are all for optics to show the resistance and make them look like fools when the truth comes out. This is what Doge is dealing with, guys. Thieves at every level, both inside and outside the government, stealing our money, and they have weapons. I can tell you that even I had threats on more than one case that I worked, and I'd be shocked if these dedicated young men haven't had threats. They are risking a lot going up against these powerful people, and I am very thankful for their sacrifice, although I do get that there's a thrill of the chase rush that motivates them as well. One of the team members who went into the United States Institute of Peace said that they had found that money from their grant that had not been used wasn't returned to the government, but it was deposited into a private account at the end of the year. Once it was moved to a private account, there was no congressional oversight, and the money was used for various headquarters events and private jets. Congress gave this group $55 million a year. What do you say? Do you want to chip in to give the Taliban $55 million a year? The destruction of accounting records was referred to the FBI and the DOJ for investigation. Things are beginning to all fit together. One of the Doge team talked about a cave that he took a golf cart through, which looked very much like an underground tunnel that we've seen before. He said that they went through security and into the side of a mountain and entered a space of caverns and roads. The cave referred to is an old limestone iron mine in Pennsylvania. He said that they approached a metal door which was opened up, and he said there was a sea of old filing cabinets. And the question wasn't whether the location was secure to store media, because it is. The question was, why are we still using paper in 2025? Approximately 10,000 applications a month are processed and stored in manila envelopes and cardboard boxes. Now, I have to admit that I don't trust computers, and personally, I still like having a paper backup. So he brought something to show us, which was case folders that took months to process if someone wanted to retire. He also said that for one retiree that they have, there are 27 boxes of paper on a pallet for that one person. Okay, even a dinosaur like me gets that something else needs to be done. So the Doge team said that last night they had 25 retirees who were online going through an entirely online retirement process for the first time. So I'm going to be a little progressive here and say that I understand the need for modernization, and as a user that needs to navigate retirement documents, I do get frustrated when I can't change something online. Musk always puts everything so simply. He said that we shouldn't be paying 1,000 people to carry paper into a mine. Actually, it's over 700, and I don't think there's many people that can disagree with that from a business standpoint. His focus was that these mines could be put to a much greater use. When asked how outdated the system was, Musk laughed and said it was like the Flintstones, and that dinosaurs would think it was kind of old. It appears that in addition to finding and eliminating fraud, this team is also revamping the systems, or at least providing recommendations for updating that hasn't been done in a very long time. Another thing that Doge found is that mules were delivering mail to the bottom of the Grand Canyon, displaying a photo of the mail-laden mule. This is known as mule train delivery, and still occurs with locations across the country. And while the Doge team hadn't decided to get rid of the mules yet, they definitely said that there's room for improvement. One team member said that there is a law that the post office is supposed to have a balanced budget, and since 2007, almost every year they've lost money. They looked into this and learned that there were additional regulations that went into place that basically crippled the post office, so they are essentially stuck in the past as well as bleeding money left and right. Last year, the post office lost $9.5 million. Musk thanked the hardworking postal workers, but the team believes that they can modernize the system and help it become profitable. As with everything, the Democrats have to politicize Doge with the creation of a Doge caucus, which is formally known as the Delivering Outstanding Government Efficiency Caucus. It is a bipartisan group of U.S. Congress members formed in November 2024 to address government waste, fraud, and inefficiency. They are supposed to collaborate with Trump's Department of Government Efficiency, Doge, to fix this waste, fraud, and inefficiency. The caucus includes over 70 lawmakers, predominantly Republicans, but also some Democrats like Representative Jared Moskowitz of Florida. Some Democrats like Representative Val Hoyle of Oregon joined, but later left when Musk began uncovering so much waste and fraud. Representative Jared Moskowitz told CNN that the caucus is dead and defunct, So apparently Congress is still doing a little sidestep, and they still can't get anything done. If Congress would have done their job, Doge would not have been necessary. Musk said that in a sense Doge is a long-term project or the fraud will come roaring back. He said that Doge is not winding down, even if he has to spend more time on his other companies right now. He said that there are a lot of ways to start the fraud again, but cutting off these fraudulent agencies will slow them down significantly, but there will apparently be continued monitoring necessary. Personally, I'd love to see this team with Doge accept career positions in the government, identifying and eliminating waste. With $160 billion in cuts so far, their salaries would be a drop in the bucket. Doge could easily be integrated into the government. What do you think, guys? Is this why you voted for Trump? Is Musk stepping out of bounds and causing concern? Or is he a patriot that is helping to save this country? Let your voices be heard either way. Today's closing quote is one that you have heard many times and has been attributed to Edmund Burke, but this has been disputed. Regardless, it's a great quote that goes, "The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing."